Good morning. I'm Colonel Tony Reyes, and on behalf of my fellow instructors, First Sergeant Parler and First Sergeant Correa, and the cadets of the Hawk Battalion, we would like to welcome you to the 3rd Annual 9/11 Flag of Honor Across America Memorial. I would like to thank some special guests for joining us today. I know the mayor of Westlake is on his way. I think he's got in a car accident, but I'm sure he's going to get here, but he is on his way. Mr. John Paul O'Connor, Mrs. Marsha Andrews, from District 6 of the Palm Beach County School District. Today, September 11, 2023, 75 communities across America are joining together to never forget the 2,983 men, women, and children who lost their lives on September 11, 2001, and February 26, 1993. Each of these 75 communities remember 50 to 70 of the souls lost by reading their name, sharing where they are remembered in the North Pool or the South Pool at the 9/11 Memorial in New York City, reading the panel number where their names are in bronze at the 9/11 Memorial, and reading a short bio for each listed on the 9/11 Memorial and Museum website. On this special and sacred day, each of the 75 communities will raise the 9/11 Flag of Honor, which includes the names of all 2,983 victims who lost their lives on these two tragic days. Each of these 9/11 flags also visited the 9/11 Memorial and Museum on Sunday, June 27, 2021, and were on the sacred ground where the Twin Towers once stood. I would now like to invite our principal, Mr. Robert Hatcher, to come up to the podium and say a few words.
Thank you, Colonel Reyes. So it's events like this, ladies and gentlemen, that are necessary for the hope and the dream of what the United States, when it was created, has to be. 9/11 is a ceremony that none of you all were born when it happened. But the adults in the room, I guarantee you, if you were to ask each one of them, they can tell you exactly where they were standing when the first plane hit the tower. I can remember sitting in my office at Lake Worth Middle School, and one of my teachers, her husband, was a pilot for JetBlue, and called her while he was in the cockpit, and she was in the front office, and said, "Honey, a plane just hit the tower," and we were scrambling to get to a television to find out what happened. And by the time we were able to get a television on and the news dialed in, the second plane had hit the tower. And then shortly after that, the plane went down in the field in Pennsylvania. And shortly after that, the plane impacted the Pentagon. So every adult in the room, and at this time I would ask that all of our former and current military and first responders please stand and be recognized. Thank you for your service. We have some law enforcement in the back. Parents, thank you very much. So it's events like this that your generation and future generations will need to continue to carry on ceremonies like this to make sure that we never forget the evil that presented itself that day. And we never forget the pride of America. Let's think about that, the pride of America. There are days and there are weeks and months that have passed and that will come where we will be very divided about a number of ideas. But there's one idea that always rings true, and that is, it is a privilege and an honor, and everyone who calls themselves an American should take a great deal of pride in that. So with that, I want to thank all of you for being here today. I appreciate your attention, and thank you for being part of this ceremony. God bless America.
At this time, please rise for the national colors and the raising of both our colors and the flag of honor.
that so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
I'm sure all of us that are old enough can remember exactly where we were standing at that moment in history as if it was yesterday. I was at the U.S. Capitol when the plane struck the World Trade Center, preparing to go to the Pentagon for a meeting. While en route to that meeting, I saw a cloud of smoke off to my right as I crossed a bridge leading from D.C. into Virginia. All I could think of is what is going on in our country today. Little did I know that that cloud of smoke I was observing was Flight 77 crashing into the Pentagon. First Sergeant Correa was in New York working as a recruiter and actually felt the ground shake as each plane hit the towers. He then assisted in providing first aid to many before being recalled to his recruiting station. First Sergeant Parler was here in West Palm Beach, at Palm Beach Toyota, assisting his daughter with car issues when he received a call from his admin NCO that we were under attack and to get to a TV. He would later receive a call from his battalion operations center letting him know that they had been elevated to the highest threat level, and we were to assume full protective measures as the National Guard Armory here in West Palm Beach. Regardless of where any of us were or what any of us were doing at that time, one thing was for certain. The world had just changed forever. There was no going back from what had just occurred, and moving forward would be very difficult. So today, we should all take a moment and reflect on what actions of that day meant and remember those lives lost. We will now continue with our program and remember 50 of the souls lost on that tragic day.
James Joseph Kelly from Oceanside, New York, age 39. Nearly every room in the Kelly family household in Oceanside, New York has some sort of feminine touch or floral print, which is not surprising considering the men outnumbered the women. The women outnumber the men 5-1. Not the family room, though. That was a space known as Kell's Domain, where James was king. Joseph A. Kelly from Oyster Bay, New York, age 40. Kelly was a broker for Cantor Fitzgerald, a husband and father of 4 children, ages 8, 6, 5, and 2. He was also one of 6 siblings and a compulsive do-gooder. He once left a brand new car in my parents' driveway because he was driving to London for a few days and just went to pick it up, his brother said. Maurice P. Kelly from New York, New York, age 41. Maurice Patrick Kelly, a carpenter who was patching up a ceiling for Cantor Fitzgerald on the 103rd floor of the World Trade Center on September 11th, had a tattoo of the Grim Reaper on his arm, a symbol of a harrowing life that only now, after 41 years, seemed to be improving. Richard John Kelly, Jr. from New York, New York, age 50. Richard John Kelly, 50, of New York City, was a firefighter in the New York Fire Department. Thomas Michael Kelly from Wyckoff, New Jersey, age 41. Thomas Michael Kelly was an employee of the Euro Brokers Incorporated. Thomas Richard Kelly from Riverhead, New York, age 38. Everything about Thomas R. Kelly's life springs from his summers in Riverhead, Long Island. Eventually, he followed in his father's footsteps and joined the fire department. One day, Mr. Kelly visited a bar where he sat down next to another man named Thomas Kelly, also a firefighter, and they marveled at two Thomas Kellys happened to be in the same place at the same time. 2 days later, both Tom Kellys died at the World Trade Center. Thomas W. Kelly, from New York, New York, age 51. Kelly wasn't one of those telephone chit-chats, "Hi, how are you? Here's Kitty," was his standard greeting as he turned the call over to his wife, but his actions shouted. He quietly stuck by his friends, worked a second job to help his widowed mother, and at Ladder Company 15 in Manhattan was known as Mr. Dependable, a mentor to the Probies. But his sister, Maureen Pagilla, said, "Tommy never won praise for anything." Timothy Colin Kelly, from Port Washington, New York, age 37. The youngest of 5 children and the last to leave home, Timothy C. Kelly cultivated a taste for the chivalry and silk handkerchiefs of his parents' generation. He was a man who enjoyed the finer things in life, said his wife, Julie. He sort of lived in the 40s. He was a dapper Dan. William Hill Kelly, Jr., from New York, New York, age 30. William H. Kelly was a favorite uncle to many nieces and nephews. Once, instead of giving them all individual Christmas gifts, he rented an ice rink for an afternoon and invited his whole family. Robert Clinton Kennedy, from Toms River, New Jersey, age 55. Mr. Kennedy lived in Toms River, New Jersey, was also a tease. He loved his views from the World Trade Center, Miss Kennedy said. He would tease that he could see Pennsylvania on a clear day when we drove to Staten Island. He looked across the bridge and say he left the lights on in his office. Thank you.
Thomas J. Kennedy, from Islip Terrace, New York, 36. A firefighter with Ladder Company 101 in Brooklyn, Mr. Kennedy wanted 5 children of his own. He and his wife, Allison, had 2 children, Michael and James, and planned to have another. As a father, Mr. Kennedy cherished his children's bedtime rituals, administering evening baths and reading Goodnight Moon. He and Michael would drop coins into a piggy bank because the father was teaching the son the value of saving. Yvonne E. Kennedy, from Australia, 62. Yvonne Estelle O'Prey was born in the western suburbs of Sydney, Australia. She attended Glenfield Primary School and furthered her education at Liverpool Girls High School, where she completed her senior certificate. In 1990, Yvonne began her career as a full-time staff member at Red Cross. The Australian Red Cross became Yvonne's passion. She continued her work there until her retirement on December 15, 2000. Yvonne was awarded the Australian Red Cross Distinguished Service Medal in May 2001. In July 2001, she was elected Executive Officer of the Corps, a position she would never have the opportunity to fulfill. John Richard Keohane, from Jersey City, New Jersey, 41. Keohane lived in Jersey City, New Jersey, and loved New York. As a child, he dreamed of being a pilot. As an adult, he traveled extensively and loved politics. Ralph Francis Kershaw, from Manchester by the Sea, Massachusetts, 52. Mr. Kershaw, at 6'3" and 250 pounds, had big hands that were also adroit at the culinary art. He was a surveyor of yachts. He knew the boats inside and out. He would tell you what was right or wrong with your boat and know how to fix the problems too. On September 11th, Mr. Kershaw was on United Airlines Flight 175 when it struck the World Trade Center's South Tower. He was en route to Singapore via Los Angeles to inspect a yacht. Ronald T. Kerwin, from Levittown, New York, 42. Lieutenant Ronald T. Kerwin, 42, of Levittown, New York, a firefighter with the New York Fire Department. Howard L. Kestenbaum, from Montclair, New Jersey, 56. Mr. Kestenbaum was a senior vice president in charge of Aon Corporation's Risk Analysis Group. He was born in Newark and grew up in Maplewood, where he graduated from Columbia High School in 1963. He earned a bachelor's degree from Williams College in Massachusetts and a PhD in physics from Columbia University. Douglas D. Ketchum, New York, New York, 27. He was never too high to do anything, said his girlfriend, Evelyn J. Abels. He liked the finer things in life, but he was also very down to earth. Mr. Ketchum was remarkably close to his mother. He would call her, even at 2 a.m., if he had just spotted a celebrity, and even told her about his love life. Ruth Ellen Kettler, from New York, New York, 42. Ruth E. Kettler once said that she thought it was possible to be an executive who was liked and admired instead of respected and feared. At Fiduciary Trust, where she was a director of research, and in her daily life around the city, she tried to make that come true. Boris Khalif from New York, New York, 30. Boris Khalif moved to the United States from Ukraine at the age of 10, loved computers and devoured everything he could find about them. When he got his first computer in high school, he took it apart and then put it back together. At first it didn't work, so he just kept fiddling until it did. Friends and relatives brought their computer problems to him, and he fixed them. Mr. Khalif, 30, who lived in Brooklyn, was working as a computer consultant in Marsh & Amp, McLennan, in One World Trade Center on September 11th. Norma Cruz Kahn, S71, from Reston, Virginia, 45. Norma was a manager of Member Services Plumbing, Heating, Cooling Contractors National Association. To her family, she was the shining star that brought them together. She was their bringer of support, encouragement, hope, and faith. She touched the lives of so many as a friend, a leader, a mentor, and an energetic contributor in her community. Thank you.
Karen Ann Kincaid from Washington, D.C., age 40. Karen A. Kincaid was a passenger on American Airlines Flight 77, was a partner in the communications practice of the law firm Wiley, Ryan, Amp, and Fielding. Karen also served as an adjunct professor at CU's Columbus School of Law. She joined Wiley, Ryan, and Amp Fielding in 1993 and was a member of the firm's communications practice. She served as a senior attorney advisor for the Private Radio Bureau at Federal Communications Commission from 1989 to 1993. She received her Bachelor's of Arts degree at Central College in Pella, Iowa, and her doctorate's degree in Drake University, Des Moines, Iowa. Amy R. King from Stafford Springs, Connecticut, age 29. Amy R. King, 29, died Tuesday, September 11th, as a result of the crash of the United Airlines Flight 175. She was born October 20th, 1971, in Jamestown, a daughter of Stuart Stubb and Sue Patterson King. She was a graduate of 1989 of Southern West Central School at 1991 graduate of Jamestown Community College. She was employed by United Airlines as a flight attendant, where she worked since 1992. She was extremely happy, kind, and fun to be around. She was a wonderful daughter, sister, and aunt, and had a great life and love for life. She enjoyed running, painting, and traveling. Andrew M. King from Princeton, New Jersey, age 42. St. Charles native Andrew King, 42, worked as a currency trader for the financial services from Cantor Fitzgerald, a career that started in Chicago Board of Trade and eventually brought him to Philadelphia, and then New York. An avid golfer, trap shooter, skier, and fly fisherman, King was athletic, sports-minded, and competitive. Friends and family said. Lucille Teresa King from Ridgewood, New Jersey, age 59. Miss King knew what she liked, and she stuck with it. She and Richie lived in the same apartment in Ridgewood, Queens, for the entire 31 years they were married. Every Sunday morning at 8, she drove to the Lower Manhattan to see her parents and spend the day cooking. Every year, she and Richie went to the same place for vacation, Wolf's Maple Breezer Resort at the Catskills. Robert King, Jr. from Barrelos Terrace, New York, age 36. King, 36, was an avid woodworker. His company, Engine 33, in the East Village East, off of Tessel Table, he made seats more than 20. Expanding the wood shop in the firehouse basement. He made a table for the watch room and cabinets for some firefighting friends who had helped him work on his house in Bellerose Terrace on Long Island. Lisa King Johnson from New York, age 34. Miss King Johnson, 34, had remarried the previous May. I could see what a good mother she was, said her husband, Jim Johnson. There was that winter day, cold as ice, a few years ago, when they all traveled upstate with a group of neighbors from Walkway Park, Queens, to select a Christmas tree. Cheeks red, breath puffing, he and she and the two girls all converged on the same perfect tree at the same time. Brian K. Keneally from Lowell, Massachusetts, age 29. At 28, the engaging, industrious Mr. Keeney had risen from the intern to manager at Price Waterhouse. He could have taken care of that California client by phone, but on September 11th, Mr. Kinney boarded the United Airlines Flight 175 because he wanted to shake the client's hand and see how he was really doing. Takesha Kinoshita from Rye, New York, age 46. She's general manager at Fuji Bank Limited. Chris McKell Kirby from New York, New York, age 21. Chris, 21, was born on New Year's Day and had nicknamed Happy because of his happy-go-lucky nature. He was working as a carpenter while taking classes to become a firefighter like his father. A few days before he disappeared, he called his family, who now live in Middleton, New York. His father told him, as he always did, "Be good, I love you." And Chris responded, as he always did, "Dad, I love you too." Robert Kirkpatrick from Suffin, New York, age 61. Robert Kirkpatrick lived in Suffin, New York with his wife, Evelyn. Skilled in carpentry, plumbing, and locksmithing, he worked for the Port Authority as senior structural maintenance supervisor. Robert spoke of retiring in November 1993. On February 22nd of that year, Robert was in the World Trade Center basement on his lunch break when a bomb exploded in the nearby parking garage. He was 61 years old. Thank you.
Sarah Khan from New York, New York, age 32. Mrs. Khan, 32, immigrated from Guyana in 1992, arriving in New York where her husband had settled 2 years earlier. They coordinated their schedules to maximize their time with the children. She worked early and got home when school let out. He went in a little later, after getting everyone ready for the day. On weekends, the Khans liked to go to the movies or the theater all together. Mrs. Khan had dark eyes, dark hair, and a warm smile, which she lavished on her friends and family. Her pretty smile, her husband said, that is the first thing you will see. Timur Faraz Khan from New York, New York, age 29. As a child in Woodbury, New York, Timur Khan dodgily practiced his BMX bike tricks until he could bounce on his front tire, on his back tire, and even essay long bunny hops. Although Timur weighed about 150 pounds and stood 5 feet 11 inches tall, his determination propelled him to the captaincy of the Seosit High School football team and celebrated an 90-yard touchdown run. It was this drive that made Mr. Khan, 29, a commodity futures trader at Car Futures, handing his own desk on the 90th floor of the One World Trade Center. Rajesh Khandawal from South Plainfield, New Jersey, age 33. Khandawal, 33, of South Plainfield, New Jersey, an employee of Marsh Amp and McLean Company, Incorporated. Seilai Ku from Jersey City, New Jersey, age 38. At 38, she co-managed some of the best-known mutual funds at Fred Alger Management and was often sought out her views about market trends. Michael Vernon Kiefer from Hempstead, New York, age 26. Michael Vernon Kiefer wanted to be a New York City fireman as long as anyone can remember. As a young man, Michael Kiefer worked as an emergency medical technician and met his fiancée, Jamie Hugler, a physician's assistant. When he finally got the chance in late 2000 to be a full-fledged New York City firefighter at age 25, he was all nerves until he learned that he had been assigned to the ladder company 132, one of Brooklyn's busiest. Satoshi Kikuchihara from Scarsdale, New York, age 43. Satoshi Kikuchihara, 43, of Scarsdale, New York. Andrew Jae-hoon Kim from Leonia, New Jersey, age 26. As a child, Andy J. Kim developed his musical talents. He played piano, clarinet, and guitar. During high school, he was in the marching band, the jazz band, and the orchestra. At Columbia University, where he studied engineering and finance, he developed his spiritual side, working with the Campus Crusade for Christ. After college, Mr. Kim, 26, was a research analyst from Fred Alger Management in late July. He passed the Certified Financial Analyst exam. Lawrence Don Kim from Blue Bell, Pennsylvania, age 31. He was a chronic workaholic. Security guards at Time Warner's Tampa offices were once alarmed because Mr. Kim's car had been parked in the same place for 8 days while he had been continuously working on a project. That discipline carried over to his new job at Marsh and Amp, McLean. Parking records show that he arrived between 7:30 and 8 a.m. on September 11th, his second day of work. Mary Jo Kimmelman from New York, New York, age 34. Miss Kimmelman, 34, was always a taker when people had an extra ticket to concerts or sporting events. She often read poetry at clubs in Greenwich Village and ran up on stage when bands invited audience members to sing. About 2 years ago, Miss Kimmelman impressed her friends by belting out a Melissa Etheridge tune at a bar near Wall Street. At the beginning, she was a little nervous, said her friend Carolyn Cutts, but once she started going, she let it rip. The band helped her along, and she signed. Heinrich Kimmig from Germany, age 43. Heinrich Kimmig, 43, of Germany, chairman of BCT Technology, AG, passed on UA Flight 175. Thank you.
Howard Barry Kirschbaum from New York, New York, age 53. One of the ways that Mr. Kirschbaum, 53, kept people together was dining in and out about every once a week. He knew every restaurant and what to order and who to go with, said his daughter, Lauren, 23. Mr. Kirschbaum was the director of security of Marsh AMP in McLennan. He was responsible with 20 guards who worked for him for the security firm's 7th floor in the One World Trade Center. When he took his job in 1997, he had recently retired from the New York Police Department, where he spent 25 years and achieved the rank of detective. He was looking for a second career to help put Lauren and his son Matthew, now 24, through college. Glenn Davis Kerwin from Scarsdale, New Jersey, age 40. Mr. Kerwin, 4 years old, lived in Scarsdale, New Jersey, and was up at 5:15 in the morning to catch the 6:30 train to New York, where he was head of production of East B Division of Cantor Fitzgerald. It was usually 8 at night when he arrived at home. It was his practice to always do something with his children, Miles, 10, and Troy, 7 years old, before they went to bed. He would read them a story and play checkers or engage in the game of Go Fish. Sometimes they would go outside and play catch or shoot baskets. Helen Crosswind Kittle and her unborn child from Lamont, New York, age 34, worked for Cantor Fitzgerald. Richard Joseph Clares from Somers, New York, age 59, the son of a German immigrant who laid tracks for the subway system, and stenographer Mr. Clares, 59, grew up in Harlem and the Bronx. He went to Merchant Marine College at Fort Scollay in Bronx and a fashion school of the old days and married his high school sweetheart, Veronica Razzo. He was a risk engineer for March and McLennan, and he had a meeting on September 11th on the 105th floor of the South Tower to tell a client how to make the factories more safe. Peter Anton Klein, Mickhawk, New Jersey, from age 35. Peter A. Klein was an antithesis of a computer geek despite the significant role of computers played in his life. The 35-year-old computer consultant who once worked for IBM and was working on a project for Marsh AMP McLennan of September 11th, had developed a natural programming language that would enable average Joe writer programmers, said his mother, Ruth Klein, who plans to continue her son's pursuit and his passion. He met a woman his mother calls his soulmate, his wife of over just a year, Marie Loris Binars, over the internet, but met her by a courtship and blossomed once they met, and have been more romantic. Alan David Kleinberg from East Bushwick, New Jersey, age 39. At age 39, Mr. Kleinberg thrived at his job as a securities trader at Cantor Fitzgerald. But family was the focus of his time off, whether it was planning a trip for his wife, Mindy, coaching 10-year-old Jacob's basketball team, taking his 7-year-old daughter, Lauren, to dance, or a Saturday afternoon ice skating with the children, including 3-year-old Sam. Whatever was good in this world, he took and gave them, said Gail Rubin, his mother-in-law. Karen Joyce Kiltzman from New York, New York, age 38. At age 38, Karen Joyce Kiltzman had seen more of the world than 10 people do in a lifetime. At Princeton, she taught for several years in Macau, near Hong Kong. She taught English in Beijing, where she lived in a hovel with a suspicious landlady. It was a completely exotic environment, said Joan Kiltzman, her mother. So far from the Upper West Side, where she lived. After graduating from Columbia University of International Affairs and Public Policy, she began working at New York Mercantile Exchange. An energy specialist, she traveled in Serbia and throughout the Middle East. Recently, she started East B Division of Cantor Fitzgerald. Ronald Philip Kelfor, from Franklin Square, New York, age 39. Officer Kelfor, who played for the Susquehanna High School and then Alfredin University, somehow fit the team into a schedule that included his elite police position, a side job as a contractor, and demands of a young family. His wife Dawn and 3 children, Jamie 11, Taylor 9, and Cassie 5, were always on the sidelines, and Officer Kelfor was when his 2 daughters played their games. Cassie was still too young, Mr. Kelfor said, but had his own stick from the day he was born. Stephen A. Knapp, from Staten Island, New York, age 47. Stephen Knapp lived with his wife Lucy and their 2 children on Staten Island, where he was born. Stephen worked at the World Trade Center since its opening and was the Port Authority's chief maintenance supervisor. On February 26, 1993, Stephen was on his lunch break in the World Trade Center basement when a bomb exploded in a nearby parking garage. He was only 47 years old. Eugenie Naisev, from Russia, age 47. When Eugenie Naisev came to the United States in 1992, from his native Russia, he hoped to become a citizen. The Naisev, who worked as a facilities manager at the windows on the World Trade Center and a restaurant in the World Trade Center, was killed on 9/11 terror attacks. Thank you.
We will now lay a wreath at the base of the flagpole in honor of all who were lost. We will now have remarks from the Mayor of Westlake, from Mrs. Marcia Andrews from District 6 of the Palm Beach County School District.
Principal Hatcher, Seminole Ridge Hawk family, veterans, active military, all of our support, first responders, the junior ROTC. This morning, I bring sympathy, I bring condolences, and prayer from Superintendent Michael Burke of the School District of Palm Beach County and all 7 school board members. Principal Hatcher, I will never forget. I will never forget. You never forget, Seminole Ridge Hawks. 9/11, 9/11, September 11th, 9/11 was a bad day in America. Some bad things happened, but we live in a great America. We live in the best country in the United States of America. So as I stand here this morning and my heart aches for all of those who lost their lives on 9/11. I just know America is great, and I pray for all who lost their lives. I pray for their families. I pray for all the people in New York City who really worked hard to save everybody. I pray for those who went down in the plane. I pray for their families each and every day. We can never forget. I remember where I was on that day, Principal Hatcher. I was in the office with a group of people with the superintendent when the first plane went into the first building. We were at a meeting. They turned the television on. We all got down on our knees and we started to pray. We didn't know what was happening in America. We know that we're the land of the free, the home of the brave, but we started praying because we had never seen anything like this. And then another plane hit, and then it continued, and we were all crying and we were scared. But at that point in time, too, we all said, we're so thankful that we live in America. We saw people die. We saw and experienced that day. And we must continue to share it with you, Hawks. We must never forget that we live in a great country, and we're free. And we're free because of those who served in our militaries. And when I see your junior ROTC, when I walked into the building today, and I heard you all read the names, as I've heard over the years that I've been here with your principal at this school on 9/11, my heart aches in pain and sorrow, but I know within myself that we live in the greatest country, and sometimes others take a sacrifice for us to be able to be free each and every single day. So I know that we responded earlier for all of the veterans, all of our first responders in the house. I just need you to stand one more time. If you are a first responder, if you're a veteran, if you're in the military, if you're a part of the junior ROTC, we just need you to stand right now so that we can give you thanks by a big round of applause for everything we know that you're doing every day to keep us safe and to keep us free. Please stand right now wherever you are. If you are a member of a family who is in active duty or a veteran, stand, junior ROTC. Stand if you're a first responder. Stand right now. Let's give them a hand. Thank you. Thank you. You may be seated. And I want to say to Principal Hatcher and the sponsor of the junior ROTC, I want you to know this is so important that all of our students know that every day is a day that we have to be thankful because we live in the best country in the world, the United States of America. And we must know that we are one, and we are brave, and we are free because of those who made sacrifices for us during 9/11, during the military wars, every day serving in the military, all of our police officers, I see them back there, all of our paramedics, hospital staff that work to keep us safe and free. We are America, and I thank you for honoring all of those who lost their lives in 9/11, those families who are still suffering. We give honor and praise to them and let them know our love. We will never forget. Amen.
Thank you, Mrs. Andrews. We will now have closing comments from our battalion commander, Cadet Lieutenant Colonel Rowe.
On behalf of the Hawk Battalion, I would like to thank our special guests, Mrs. Andrews. Thank you very much for coming. Let's see. And taking time out of their busy schedules to attend our ceremony here today. I would also like to thank our principal, Principal Hatcher, for his support in our JRTC program. And lastly, a special note to thanks for Arthur for our logistical support and the TV production program. And this concludes our ceremony. Thank you very much for attending our special ceremony, and be safe in your travels.